Do you have a song that's inside of you? Do you have some music that you want to get out? We try and get it out through our skill and through learning music, but we're also going to talk about tonight about getting it out through lyrics and getting that song inside of you out. So I'm so excited to introduce legendary Nashville songwriter Alan Shamblin. Alan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be here.
For being with us.
Yeah.
Alan has had such an amazing career over the years. His songs, I was just in my research for this, his songs have been recorded by Bonnie Raitt and Miranda Lambert, Randy Travis, Rascal Flatts, Keith Urban, Prince, Nancy Wilson, Katy Perry, Carrie Underwood, George Michael, Kenny Rogers, Kelly Clarkson, Adele, Celine Dion. They have all covered Alan's songs. Isn't that crazy?
It blows my mind. It does. It's wild.
If you have listened to, Miranda Lambert's hit, "The House That Built Me," that was one of your songs,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes. Co-wrote that with Tom Douglas.
Yeah. And that song has just gone. It was like CMA Song of the Year,
Yeah.
Academy of Country Music Song of the Year.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We'll talk so much about your career here in a little bit, but can you open us up with a song?
Sure. I'll open up with a song that I wrote about my great-grandfather. I can tell you a little more about the story after I do it, but it was the first song that was a breakthrough song for me, and I learned it was a breakthrough in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Not just the business, but it was a writing breakthrough for me, because up to the day I wrote this song, I'd been trying to guess what people wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to guess what singers out there would want to sing. And when I sat down to write this song, I was merely expressing how I felt about my great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And that was the first song that kind of broke through. So I'll do this.
Good.
It's recorded by Randy Travis.
Yeah.
He wore starched white shirts, buttoned at the neck. He'd sit in the shade and watch the chickens peck. And his teeth were gone, but what the heck? I thought that he walked on water. Said he was a cowboy when he was young. Could handle a rope, and he was good with a gun. And my mama's daddy was his oldest son. And I thought that he walked on water. If the story's told, only heaven knows. But his hat seemed to me like an old halo. And though his wings, they were never seen, I thought that he walked on water. Well, he tied a cord to the end of a mop, said, "Son, here's a pony, keep her at a trot." And I'd ride in circles while he laughed a lot, and I'd flop down beside him. He was 90 years old in 63, and I loved him and he loved me. And Lord, I cried the day he died, 'cause I thought that he walked on water. If the story's told, only heaven knows. But his hat seemed to me like an old halo. And though his wings, they were never seen, I thought that he walked on water. Yeah, I thought that he walked on water.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank
Absolutely amazing. You've had such an amazing career and start. Now, you were born here in Tennessee, and then you moved to Texas?
Born in Cleveland, Tennessee, and when I was 7, I moved just outside of Houston, a small town called Huffman, Texas, about 30 miles outside of Houston, and grew up in Huffman, and went to college at Sam Houston State in Huntsville. And then after college, I moved to Austin, Texas for 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
And that was where I wrote my first song. And I was in my mid-20s when I wrote my first song, yeah.
Now, so kind of tell us about that process of how you felt that urge to start writing songs.
You know, Steve, I went to college, got a marketing degree, got out, and I was a real estate appraiser. And no disrespect to real estate appraisers out there, but I hated that job. It wasn't a fit for me, for my heart and soul. And one day in Austin, I-35 bridge, like at the time they called it Town Lake, but I believe it's Lady Bird Lake now, I think. But traffic was stopped.
As it always is on that bridge.
Traffic jam on that bridge. And I started literally pounding on my dash and hollering no at the top of my lungs. And I was saying, no, this can't be my life. Yeah. In that moment, I thought to myself, so is life about try to make as much money as you can, then die? Yeah. And I realized I wanted a purpose. I felt like I was here for a purpose. Yeah. But I didn't feel like I was doing that, living that purpose. And so I started asking myself, what am I passionate about? Yeah. And it was music. Yeah. And the thing is, I was last chair saxophone player in 7th grade.
In the band?
Yeah.
That was your musical journey there.
I tried taking piano lessons. That didn't work. I tried taking guitar lessons. That didn't really work. But I did know some basic chords. Yeah. I knew a few major chords and a few minor chords that might go with those majors as keys, And so I started writing songs, coming home from work. I'd usually make something to eat, lay down, take a nap, and then get up, and I would write from, say, 6, 7 to sometimes midnight. And I loved it. I was consumed by it. Yeah. And that's kind of how I got my start.
So you were just writing for yourself at that moment, just trying
I was just a young man with a broken heart trying to put those words on paper. Yeah. I wasn't trying to impress anybody. Yeah. I wasn't trying to... My whole motivation was just to put some words and music together that sounded honest. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then how did that get to someone hearing those songs?
It was a miracle. Yeah. I stayed up late one night working on a song, and I finished it about 2 a.m. And I got up the next day to go to work, and I went to lunch with a buddy of mine, Tim Janacek. We were buddies there at the appraisal company at Luby's Cafeteria in North Austin. And you come in and you grab your tray and you slide it down, and as we were working our way down towards where the food was, I pulled that lyric out of my back pocket. It was in my right back pocket. And I read it to Tim, who was standing right there, and he laughed, and he goes, that's pretty cool. You ought to try to get that to Willie Nelson. And the lady standing right here said, did you write that? And I said, yes, ma'am. And we had a conversation, and she just wrote her number on a piece of paper and said, give me a call. I might be able to help you. And I called her, and she invited me over to play her. I'd written 4 songs or 5, and I played her my 5 songs, and she said, first of all, I can't believe I invited you in my house, a stranger. Secondly, I feel like I'm supposed to help you. And my brother-in-law is a fiddle player named Johnny Gimble, legendary.
The great Johnny Gimble.
Legendary Johnny Gimble. And her best friend was executive vice president of Warner Brothers here in Nashville named Martha Sharp.
Yeah.
So she said, go write some more songs. It took me 6 months. Actually, I wrote, it's kind of a story how I wrote for 6 months and nothing happened. And then in 1 week, I wrote like 6 songs. And that was the 6th song that Linda saw that day in the cafeteria. She said, go write some more songs. So the next week, I wrote like 5 or 6 more songs. I've never done that since.
Yeah.
I've been doing this 37, almost 40 years. I've never done that before since, okay? So, and she took me over to Johnny Gimble's house. And he played fiddle and I played guitar. And first song out of the gate, he said, all right, Alan, what key is it in? And I said, I don't know, but the first chord's a C. And he kind of laughed. He goes, all right, key of C, kick it off. So I started playing and he said, whoa, stop. He said, do you realize your guitar is tuned about an octave too high? And I said, no, I just wind them till they get tight. and he tuned my guitar up for me. And we went through, I think I had 12, 14 songs total. And we went through them all. No practice, no rehearsal. I played them, sang them, and he played fiddle. And that's what we sent to Martha Sharp here in Nashville.
Wow.
And a few months later, she called and said she was coming to San Antonio to see an artist that just signed named Randy Travis.
Yeah.
And they were going to come see me play in Austin,
Yeah.
Texas. I'd never played a live. And she said, do you play live? And I lied and said yes. I'd never. And her and Barry Beckett, legendary producer Barry, came to Austin. And I sat in on the guys' break in Austin and played 4 songs. And Martha was very encouraging. She said, and Barry too, they encouraged me to move to Nashville. So with my 14 songs, 2 years later,
This would have been about when, year-wise?
It was 87, August 11th, 87. I got here. Martha Sharp came to Austin around 85. We don't have enough time to get into all this stuff, but they were so encouraging. And the minute they walked out the door, I got writer's block. I didn't write another song for over 2 years. And the reason why I went from being that young man with just a broken heart and a guitar trying to put words and music together to trying to impress people.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up in songwriting early on and later on, is we go from just forgetting we're just trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
And to feeling like we have to impress.
Yeah.
And it was a great lesson to learn early in my career.
Wow. And then, well, you mentioned Randy Travis, and then how did that song that you just played, how did that?
It's my whole journey, Steve. I could tell you story after story that, just like that cafeteria story, I moved to Nashville. I started parking cars at Centennial Hospital.
Really?
Making $5 an hour. And, you know, honestly, it was the happiest I'd been since I got out of college.
Yeah.
I was broke, living literally week to week. A guy in my where I paid an apartment week to week, a guy on the floor upstairs worked for Cisco Foods, and every 2 weeks, food they have to throw it away. Well, before they throw it away, he would sack it up and bring it to me and knock on the door and bring me a sack of groceries. Thank you, Arnie Dekwa out there, for keeping me fed. But I ended up getting a publishing deal. Hay Street Music, Don Schlitz, Pat Halper, Chuck Flood. They signed me to a deal on the basis of those 14 songs I'd written 2 years. They didn't know I have writer's block. And I was co-writing a lot, and I was faking my way through these co-writes. I was more of a cheerleader. You know, I'd come in with an idea, but I really wasn't contributing. And Pat called me into her office one day, and she said, Alan, I know you're working really hard, but we don't hear you in any of these songs. And she said, why don't you go back to Texas, reconnect with your roots, and then come back to Nashville and write by yourself. And in that moment, I thought, I'm busted. They're fixing to find out I don't have a clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't written a song by myself at that point in over 3 years. And so I went back to Texas, hung out with my buddy Tim Janacek that was in the cafeteria that day. I came back to Nashville on a Sunday night. And I've told this story hundreds of times, but I tell it because if there's somebody watching right now, they might be where I was this day, because I was probably at the lowest point of my journey. And I woke up in my little efficiency apartment on Nolensville Road, not far from here.
Yeah, not far from here.
And turned on the TV, and it was early morning televangelist. And I wasn't trying to, it was just the TV came on. And I turned and I heard behind me, there's somebody out there fixing to give up on a dream. And I turned around, and he was pointing right at me. And he said, don't give up. The race always gets toughest just before you cross the finish line. And he was interviewing an Olympic gold medal sprinter who had won the 400 meters. And the guy was wearing his gold medal. And the guy started talking about the last 30, 40 yards, how his legs are burning, his lungs are burning, and everything in him is wanting to give up. He said, but don't give up. It gets hardest just close to the finish line. So I said, I received that. So I got in my old beat up Cutlass Supreme, and I started heading down to Music Row, and at Harding and Trousdale, that's not far from where
right
we are,
down here.
right down the road. The words, he wore starched white shirts, button at the neck. He'd sit in the shade and watch the chickens peck. His teeth were gone, but what the heck? Literally came out of nowhere. I didn't know who I was writing about, what I was writing about, but I wrote those words down, and I went into my little office there on Hay Street, and I wrote those words out neat, and I started walking around the room, and I thought he walked on water, just came out of my mouth. And I got goosebumps, and I remembered my great-grandfather. My mother was raised in a children's home, and I didn't know my grandparents, but I did get to meet my grandfather on my mother's side, my great-grandfather. And he was bigger than life to me. He had lived in Texas, the Galveston area, the late 1800s, early 1900s, moved back to Tennessee. And the song literally poured out like honey out of a jar. And I turned it in. They loved it. They took it to Warner Brothers. They liked it from Randy Travis. Randy recorded it, and it was the #1 song just a few months later.
And that was kind of the first big one.
The first big one. I'd had a few songs recorded, 2 or 3 maybe up to that point. But that was the first breakthrough song I had, and it was revolutionary for me in my heart, because all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, you mean the songs are in here? All I have to do is explore my deepest joys and my deepest sorrows, and that's where they are? And I'd been looking out there, everywhere out there for these song ideas. And it freed me up. You know, I suddenly I was free. And I was loving writing again, and the songs started coming. And in the last 37 years, I can't believe it's gone by, how fast it's gone by, but usually when the writing is not going well, I'm writing around something deeply emotional in me. It's either some great joy or some great sorrow. And so if I feel blocked now, I will stop and start asking myself, is there something going on? I need to write about it. Because when I get blocked now, I look for that deep emotion, whatever it is, and write to it and through it. And then it opens back up again.
Amazing. Yes, 1,000 times. You know, we think it's all about, you know, technique, or if I hit the right chord, or if I do this, or if I manipulate the relationship this way, and I kind of shape it, and it just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
It comes from the heart.
And
you are putting words to emotions.
That's right.
and then slapping some music over them as a vehicle to get them out.
That's right.
But you're getting out what people are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do that, if you're just slapping together rhymes and stuff like that, you miss it.
That's right.
And so many do.
That's right.
Let's see if we can get to a couple of those. Don is asking, how do you find the melody to match the lyrics, or how does it come for you? Is it a melody? Is it the lyrics first? Is it an idea? Is it a chorus? Is it a verse? How do or you just start and you grind it out? How does it work?
Donna, that's a great question. That's a great question. For me, it's happened every possible way. I don't have a set way to go about it. I've started with just a word. I've started with a melody. Mm-hmm. I've started with a phrase. I've started with nothing. And that's how a lot of my days start, with nothing. Mm-hmm. You know, just go in and start noodling with my guitar and daydreaming. But I do know some writers, they have a set way they go about it. They love to start with a title, mm-hmm. or they love to start with a melody. And I want to be completely honest. My strength is lyrics. Mm-hmm. And I do co-write a lot, and I gravitate to great melody writers. Mm-hmm. And so in co-writing now, I'm usually around some great melody writer where I'm freed up, and I may have my guitar in my lap, but I'm really thinking mostly words.
Yeah. I know for some folks, they get a melodic idea.
Yeah.
Or a chord change or a chord progression or something, and they try and work some lyrics over the top of it.
Well, you know, Steve, just to that point, mm-hmm. back to He Walked on Water, since I've already, when I sat down, I wrote 2 verses complete before I ever picked my guitar up. Mm-hmm. You know, I thought, I better pick my guitar up.
So you didn't necessarily have a melody at that point?
I had no melody.
You're just writing almost poetry at that point.
I just had words.
Yeah.
Words and a rhyme scheme. Mm-hmm. You know, I had the rhyme scheme on He Walked on Water is like A, B. Mm-hmm. You know, neck, peck, heck, water. I thought he walked on water. And I'd studied rhyme schemes. I'd been studying, and I'd seen a couple. I can't remember off the top of my head what they were, but at that time I thought, you know, as a practice, as kind of a sit down and try something someday, I want to try writing a song with that rhyme scheme. Mm-hmm. So subconsciously that just fell out like that. Yeah.
Peter's saying, can you please discuss a little bit about the recording of I Can't Make You Love Me, another one of your amazing hits?
You know, Steve, I wasn't there at the session, but I've heard a little about the session, and you know, I was sitting at a dinner one night with Bonnie Raitt, who's an ASCAP dinner, one of the most gracious artists I've ever been around. Mm-hmm. She did talk a little bit about when they first recorded it, they thought maybe they had missed it. Mm-hmm. And they went into the control room and they started pulling down the faders. Mm-hmm. And there was the song, you know. But I don't know if this is to your question at all, Steve, but a lot of people, you know, ask about the journey of that song. But that song, I co-wrote that with the great songwriter Mike Reed, a wonderful songwriter. And Mike and I worked on that song several months as an up-tempo bluegrass song.
Really?
And yes, Mike still has a cassette, and I want to get him to burn me that, because he had an old Lund drum machine that was just like pooch, 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 you know, and I can't make you, and we were writing a bluegrass song, and you talked about words and melody, and there's this word prosody, you know, the marriage of a melody and a lyric.
Yeah.
And one day I went over to Mike's. We were getting together once a week at that time, and he said, come upstairs, I want to play you something. Generally, we worked in Mike's basement, and but upstairs he had a grand piano, and he sat down and he started playing. I just had chills. I loved the melody, and I said, Mike, that's beautiful. And then he noodled around, then he started singing the words that we had written to the up-tempo bluegrass over the new melody. And it was a spiritual experience. Yeah.
Because that song has kind of taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
And just about everybody has had a successful version of that song. It has become such a classic in the lexicon of popular music. I Can't Make You Love Me. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the day we finished that song, we went back down in Mike's basement and we finished the song, and the room, it was like there was a charge. I mean, the hair was on, standing up on the back of my neck, and I didn't know if anybody would ever record the song, but at that moment, I just knew it was probably the best song I'd been a part of.
Yeah.
And Mike looks across his keyboard and he said, Alan, don't ever forget this moment, what we feel in this room right now. He said, money, awards, gold records are never going to touch what we feel right here.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was a moment I'll never forget.
What are you going to play for us?
I think I'll do The House That Built Me.
Oh, beautiful.
I co-wrote this song with Tom Douglas, a great songwriter. And Tom and I actually started the song at Sundance, in Sundance, Utah. And we wrote it when we got back to Nashville. We turned it in, and we got a big stiff wind of indifference from everyone, from everyone we played it for. So we just put it on the shelf. And 6 years later.
6 years
6
later.
years later.
Boy, it is amazing how songs just kind of have their moment when they blossom.
Yeah, and 6 years later, Tom called me up out of the blue. Probably we hadn't written a song in months, if not a couple of years. And he said, do you remember the song, The House That Built Me? And I said, yeah. And he said, what do you say we revisit it and see if there's something wrong with it? So I went over the next day. He printed out the lyric, and it was obvious what was wrong with it. It was about 25 minutes long. We'd put everything from our childhoods in the song. So really, we took a lot out of the song. We took a lot out, and in the song is about going back to your childhood home, knocking on the door, and wanting to take a look around. And we got down to the last line, and I said, Tom, I think we need to say one more time that the person knocking on the door is not there to steal something. And he said, I won't take nothing but a memory. And I said, it's done. So
Perfect.
We finished the song, we turned it in, and Miranda Lambert recorded it not long after, and she did an amazing job.
Amazing.
Yeah. I know they say you can't go home again, but I just had to come back one last time. And ma'am, I know you don't know me from Adam, but these handprints on the front steps, they're mine. And up those stairs in that little back bedroom is where I did my homework and I learned to play guitar. And I bet you didn't know, under that live oak, my favorite dog is buried in the yard. And I thought if I could touch this place or feel it, this brokenness inside me might start healing. And out here it's like I'm someone else. I thought that maybe I could find myself if I could just come in. I swear I'll leave. Won't take nothing but a memory from the house that built me. Well, Mama cut out pictures of houses for years, from Better Home and Garden magazine. The plans were drawn, the concrete poured, nail by nail and board by board. Daddy gave life to Mama's dream. And I thought if I could touch this place or feel it, this brokenness inside me might start healing. And out here it's like I'm someone else. I thought that maybe I could find myself. If I could just come in, I swear I'll leave. Won't take nothing but a memory from the house that built me. You leave home, you move on, and you do the best you can. Well, I got lost in this old world and forgot who I am. And I thought if I could touch this place or feel it, this brokenness inside me might start healing. And out here it's like I'm someone else. I thought that maybe I could find myself. If I could just come in, I swear I'll leave. Won't take nothing but a memory from the house that built me. If I could walk around, I swear I'll leave. Won't take nothing but a memory from the house that built me.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
You know, I know for you it's a song that's been sung 1,000 times by 1,000 people, and yet it still rings something in the heart.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. Had a great question. Great question. Nick Papa is saying, in the last 100 years of music, how is it possible to write lyrics or music that haven't already been written?
That's a great question, Nick. The stories, you go back to the blues or you listen to all the old songs, it's a lot of the stories are the same. You got your heart broke or you fall in love. But when you write a story in your authentic voice,
Yes.
who you are, where you from, the way I would tell you a story, it's going to come out sounding a little different. It's going to be a little more unique, because nobody in the world would choose the words I would choose in that moment if I'm being authentic.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm trying to be like someone else, I may use words that sound like somebody else.
Yeah.
But I just think we're all unique. We're all individuals. We're all going to choose a different word or a different note and make it our own.
You know, that's the one. That's the one idea. You know, in this age of AI and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, do we even need creative people anymore?
Yeah.
And it is a resounding, of course.
Yeah.
You need creative people.
Yes.
AI is amazing, but it is just a conglomeration of patchwork of other people's ideas, and we don't need another somebody else. What is the only thing we can bring is ourselves.
That's right.
And that's the only way that it works. You couldn't work trying to write somebody else's song. You can only write your song, and that's what the world needs, is that.
That's right. I believe that with all my heart. And AI, what it's not going to be able to bring, I think, I have pretty strong conviction, is the heart and soul and the spiritual element is going to be missing from that, and that's what moves people deeply.
Yes.
And you can organize words. I've written songs where I felt like the words were organized really well, but the song didn't move anybody.
Yeah.
And I've written songs that didn't have perfect rhymes or even didn't rhyme, but they moved people.
Yeah.
And so that's the missing element in that to me.
When you're writing lyrics, I remember when we were doing through the guitar workshop, you mentioned to me over lunch one day, you said something about leaning in. You lean into the tears, you lean into the laughter, you lean into the emotion of it. Speak to that a moment.
I follow the joy. I follow the tears. You know, I follow the laughter. When I'm writing a song, if I feel tears pushing at the back of my eyes, I trust that. After all these years, I trust that, and I will put those words down or I'll follow that thought. I'm just following whatever moves me. Yeah. And if it's a song that's making me want to dance, well, I want to feel that. And but yeah, it's write from your deepest joys or your deepest sorrows. That's what I'm trying to do. You know, and when you do that, there's something that happens that I don't know if it's explainable, or maybe it is. Maybe somebody out there has figured it out. But if you say something to me, Steve, from your most authentic self, I feel it.
Yeah.
And when it's not, then it doesn't hit me that way. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is really a lot of times circumvent my intellect and get to almost a daydreaming place where I'm writing and what's in my deepest heart comes out of my mouth.
And a lot of times folks have a tendency to avoid feelings, strong feelings like that.
Buddy,
they don't know what to do with them.
I tell you, you just touched on something really powerful there, because I learned over the years when I'm writing, when a little voice shows up in my head and says, nobody wants to hear about that, that's what I need to put on paper. Or nobody wants to hear that song. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the middle of a song and the thoughts start, nobody wants to hear about that. That's too personal. I learned early, Don Schlitz, I was wearing my car parking uniform the first day I wrote with Don, and he told me, he said, the things most maybe secret or deep inside you that you think nobody else cares about or would know about, write those things, because those are the most universal a lot of times.
Yeah.
So over the years, time and time again, when I'm writing a song and I hear the voice show up, nobody cares, nobody wants to hear about that, that's a sign I need to finish that song. Yeah.
Let's talk about that amazing instrument that you're playing here. First of all, what do you have there today?
I'm playing an L00. That's
a beautiful size guitar. I love the smaller body size.
I absolutely love this guitar. It travels well. It goes in the overhead bin. It when you plug it in, it's got a big sound, and it just fits me. You know, I had I moved to town with a Yamaha. I think it was an FG 340 or 3 something that I bought at Brooke Mays Music in Houston, Texas.
Brooke
when
Mays.
I graduated.
Boy, that's a Texas chain down there. Yeah.
1977. So
yeah.
Bought it but anyway, I love this little guitar. It's got a slightly wider neck, and strings are spaced just right for my hands.
The smaller body size. I mean, I'm a smaller guy. You're a smaller guy. I just prefer it. It just lands a little bit better on your chest as you're doing that. You know what kind of pickup you have in that?
It's a Bags.
LR Bags. Yeah.
LR Bags. Sorry, LR Bags. It came with it. The guitar. Actually, this is the second one I had. The first one I had was given to me by my father. He just never played it, and I loved it. But it was the year they tried a double truss rod, and it didn't work out. And Gibson, if I could find my receipt, they replaced it. And my dad found the receipt.
Really?
It was about this big, faded, and you hold it up to the light, and we took it back, and they gave me this one, and I love it. I love it.
In our last moment or two, what about just the craft of songwriting?
Yeah.
When you go in for an afternoon of writing, it's you and that blank, that dreaded blank page. What do you physically? What do you start doing to try and get those lyrics out, those ideas out?
Physically, well, first, my process from the very beginning is I show up and I don't necessarily go straight to my guitar. I sit and I pray. I ask God to help me because He's got all the good ideas. And so I start there, and I just pick my guitar up, and I usually have a blank legal page, and I'll just start noodling. I may have some titles. I collect titles. I have a book that I collect phrases, titles, words that interest me, and I just show up. I learned years ago that no time at the writing table is wasted if you show up and are mindful in that moment.
Yeah.
And so I've gone into my writing room for two solid weeks or more and nothing, but I learned also a long time ago that during the course of a day, hours every day, noodling, trying things get in my subconscious, and 2 weeks later a song just comes out.
Yeah.
So I've learned to trust the process over the years.
Trusting the not knowing all the answers.
It's setting out.
It's not a formula.
It's not a formula. It's setting out on an uncharted sea in the dark for me.
And trusting that all of these little experiences, all these little ideas, all these little thoughts that come through during the day, that's going to meld into something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So many times when I think I'm stuck on an idea, it's not really being stuck. I mean, I've something about working on an idea that's hard, a line that's hard, and working on it. It triggers a lot of things in your subconscious.
How do you get past one way of looking at a line? You're looking at this one lyric, and you know it's something not right with it, and you just kind of find yourself only seeing it from one angle.
I don't, now I've learned not to self-edit, so I allow myself to say what to other people might sound stupid, to say anything. Anything that I feel coming up. It doesn't have to make sense, I just say it. And I'll sing it to myself. Now, I don't do that with every co-writer. That might freak some people out. But my long-time co-writers, there's a freedom in the room. I'm not trying to prove I'm a better writer than them. They're not trying to prove anything to me. We're serving the idea.
Yeah.
We're trying to serve the song. So I just say anything. And I've learned that kind of doing that sparks words that actually work for a different angle. I just trust it. I just trust my subconscious is smarter than my critical mind.
Yeah.
And the critical part of the mind is something we bring into the process, but I try to keep that part out of the room as long as I can.
Yeah.
And allow.
It's just not helpful.
It doesn't help the process.
Yeah.
At all. It's about letting everything. I overwrite. I write. I fill up legal pads sometimes to get a song. Write pages and pages to get a verse or a line. I don't get too married or precious. If I write a verse I like a lot, I'm not married to it if it doesn't serve the idea. But I keep it because a year from now, it's like an auto parts department. I might need a bridge, and I've had verses that I wrote years ago work for a song we're working on today. So.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right, let's see if we can get to a question. David Patrick, great question. Do you ever get answers to ideas in the middle of the night when you sleep and then awake? I can say yes for me.
Do I get answers?
Or do you have? I know I find sometimes I'll go to bed thinking about a big problem, a small problem, a musical problem, a chord progression, just something I'm kind of thinking about and kind of letting it roll around in my rock roller there for a while, and then I'll find a lot of times in the morning when my mind is fresh or something, then it's like, oh, that's what that was.
I met this is going to sound like it doesn't apply, but it does apply. A man who was in the Army, and he led a lot of soldiers, and he said to me, he said, Alan, sleep is a weapon. It helps you in life. And how he was talking about the importance of sleep. And I've learned, like, I'll work, wall, and then one night's sleep, wake up the next morning, and there it is. It's all been revealed.
Yeah.
So I definitely, now I do know of songwriters who've dreamed complete songs and that have gone on to be recorded. That's not happened to me. I have this weird thing where I will dream a complete song. It'll be great. But I think it's somebody else's song, and then I wake up and I don't remember it. So
there's something, you touched on it earlier, about the subconscious, trusting that your subconscious is still spinning, and these gears are still spinning and working and taking all of this information, and that if you just kind of still your heart, still your mind from trying to force it, it will a lot of times just do the work that needs to be done in connecting these pieces that you can't quite find the connection point yet.
Yeah, well, it's kind of both. There's a sweat part of it. Yeah. I feel like I'm a coal miner. You know, I go down deep in a shaft and I'm looking around and got a little light on down there and I'm busting rocks and I'm looking for the right word. Yeah. Just the right word. And some days I don't feel like I'm finding those words, but then when I let go, just like you said, that's where the subconscious, I don't know if I hadn't have been down in the mine shaft looking, if the word would have ever come. You know, so it's kind of goes together. Right.
When you've written some songs, where do you go with them from there? Once you've written to them, just how that works. Well, you're so well known now, probably folks are knocking on your door saying, do you have any songs?
I wish they were, Steve, but it's very, very competitive. You got to be in the game and try and, you know, so, but a lot of the co-writers I work with have their own publishing company or work at publishers, people pitching their songs. But when I personally write a song that I feel good enough to share with somebody, over the years, I've made contacts and I will reach out to people I know.
If folks want to learn more about the craft of songwriting, I know the Nashville Songwriters Association has a lot of resources on their website.
Absolutely. NSAI is a wonderful place. Been a member. I was actually on the board of NSAI for a few years back in the 90s, and I think they do great work. That's a great resource and a great place to go.
For everybody, not only if you're here, whatever. Nashville Songwriters Association International.
That's right.
They have a lot of good resources on their site, and you're, in the Songwriters Hall of Fame here, and in Texas. You've had some things in Texas as well.
Thankfully.
What an honor to have you here with us, Alan. Can you close us out with a song? What are you going to...
I think if it's okay, I'd like to do a song that Willie Nelson just put out last month. He's 91 years old.
91.
About to turn 91. He been a big inspiration to me. And I co-wrote this song with Rodney Crowell, and we started it in the early 2000s. And I'd been fascinated with Border Patrol agents, reading about their life, how difficult. Many of them were married to, or had family on both sides of the border. And we wrote this song 10, 12 years ago. And it's not a political song. I mean, I'm sure some people will try to bring politics to it, but it's really a character study about what it must feel like to be a Border Patrol agent. And Willie just recorded it, and it's out there, and I'm just grateful to Rodney Crowell and Willie Nelson, and I think I'm going to share that with you if
Yeah,
that's
wonderful.
okay. I work on the border, I see what I see. I work on the border, and it's working on me. I lie awake at night, knowing what I know. There's a price on the head of every border patrol. Where the smugglers do business, that's where I make a stand. I know this old desert like the back of my hand. I see greed in the shadows, I see snakes in the dark. Some are friends of my brothers, can't you hear them dogs bark? I come home to Maria at the end of the day, in the shape of a shadow, holding demons at bay. It's just the border, they say. It was Mexican soldiers out of a black Humvee, with their guns to their shoulders, aimed at my partner and me. Well, they drove away laughing, but the message was clear. We don't care about nothing but the money down here. I come home to Maria in a bulletproof vest, with the weight of the whole wide world bearing down on my chest. It's just the border, I guess. From the shacks and the shanties come the hungry and poor, some to drown at the crossing, some to hunger no more. I guess you heard about Campos and Rami M. Both of them friends of mine, both good men. They did one right thing, and look what they got. A federal prison where they're both gonna rot. I come home to Maria, where else would I go? Across a river to die by myself, down in old Mexico. It's just the border, you know.
Beautiful. Thank you, Alan.
Thank
you for so much. Thanks for being here and sharing all of the wonderful insights that you have into music and into our craft.
Thanks, Steve.
Keep up the great work in your own learning. I say it at the end of every show, your music matters. The world needs the music that's inside of you. So keep up the great work. We will see you guys next time.